Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another very special edition of the Juice Box. Of course, I am Juice Springsteen. This is another edition of the SIP series where I dive into whatever, you've been a fan, you're a content creator, you're a wrestler, but you've had a journey through wrestling at some point in your life. And those are the stories I like hearing from people. And I like to be able to dive deep and figure out what made them who they are today. And today I've got one of the more unlikely guests of, actually, you know what? That's his show. Welcome to the Juice Box, Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez. Welcome to the Juice Box, brother.
Let's go. I had orange juice this morning with my banana. You know what I'm saying? Had to get my calcium, my potassium, all that good stuff. Fiber, very important. And I'm glad to be here, brother, on a very important week in wrestling. The biggest week in the summer, in my opinion. No offense to SummerSlam. So there's no better time to join the show. I want to go behind the scenes immediately, less than 2 minutes into the show. I said I was going to be on the previous episode, and I missed it because I think I'm Hollywood. So I had to make sure I came in here correct, and I'm glad to be here. So thanks for making time for me, man.
You know what they call him, Adrian Hollywood. But
facts. He's still broke, but he just acts Hollywood like a doofus. I was going to say a cuss word, but I don't know what the limitations are here with the FCC. So I'll keep it PG.
You can keep it PG, but if something slips out, I'm not going to bleep it out. It's all good here in the Juice Box. So appreciate you being here. Happy belated birthday. We're the same age now, 32. What's going on? Everybody's seemingly doing great and being younger. What the hell are we doing? We're talking about wrestling on a podcast.
Facts, and only getting 4 hours of sleep, but we keep pushing, baby. We keep pushing. Let's go, and thank you.
Oh, man, absolutely. So let's just kick things off. Give me your first, as the best of your recollection, your first memory of pro wrestling, whether it's you saw it on TV, a parent or someone said something, a friend. Tell me what that first wrestling memory was like for you.
It was on UPN with my cousin and my sister in my room. I think we're just randomly changing the channels. And I distinctly remember it was like it was a backstage segment with Kane. And like it was a diva, a blonde. I don't remember who it was. I want to say Deborah Wilson, but I don't think so. I don't know what was going on. I don't think it was Stacy Keibler. I'm not sure. We can go back in the tapes and check it. But let's
review the files later.
That is literally like that's the first memory. But obviously, when it comes to like what attached me to it and what I can recall the most, is just The Rock. The Rock's swagger, the way he carried himself was kind of how I tried to portray myself going to school and acting around my friends. I thought he was the coolest. So I'm a UPN era kid. So Booker T, Hungry Man commercials, Lux commercials, like all of that. That's where I come from. TNN, Stripperella after Raw. Kane taking off the mask. I know there's been some anniversaries that have come up this past couple of weeks. So like that's my era.
That's dope, man. At Stacker 2, at Lux, those commercials you brought.
Stacker 2, going to Blockbusters, a Hollywood Video next to the pornos to get the WWE DVDs or VHSs that were available. And always getting WrestleMania 17 and rewatching it. Always got to watch the intro with like the family in Taiwan watching on the little TV.
Freddie Blassie over the dub.
Yeah, and then they go to Texas and the kids are playing baseball and they stop to get a drink of lemonade and watch wrestling. Like that and the 2003 WWE DVDs that if you bought all of them, it would have the pictures. So you had to get the collection on the sides.
I have them all.
Now we don't have physical media, but that's my era. That's my era. That's where I come from. Survivor Series when Shawn Michaels came back with the worst brown gear I've ever seen. But that pay-per-view, like that's where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? That's my era.
Absolutely. And it's funny you brought up The Rock. He went Hollywood, and so did you. All right, that's enough of that bit. But
Well done. No, keep it
but
alive.
hey, but they actually made a. I always talk about action figures on the show. I used to be huge in the action figure game, and not as much more these days. However, I do keep up with what they currently put out, and they recently released the Shawn Michaels in those terrible pants from Survivor Series
It was
02.
white
So,
boots, though, right?
it might have been. It was just everything about the outfit was just
No,
off-putting.
it might have been black boots, which made it
When
even worse.
when you said white boots, I initially thought Triple H when he had white boots.
Well, the white and the purple, but that was WrestleMania
Uh,
19 with Booker T, I believe.
I, yeah, hey,
Believe.
back to Hunger Man.
Yeah. It always leads back to Hungry Man.
It always comes back to it, man. But that is very interesting. So you being 32, so it's easy for me to kind of gauge where you were. So you got into wrestling when you were what, 8 or 9, maybe 10 years old?
Probably a little younger than that.
Okay.
The thing about me though is that as I grew up, like when Eddie Guerrero passed away,
Yeah.
when Lesnar left, and the things with Chris Benoit and the rise of Cena, the rise of Batista, that's kind of where I checked out.
Wow.
I checked out like so middle school years. Obviously, you get into middle school, you're starting to play sports. You got practice after school. Also, just the rise in like online gaming. I was a Halo kid.
Okay.
So playing Halo 2 on Xbox Live with my friends or Madden, whatever the
Oh, hell
case, like spent way too many hours. So my time to consume stuff, I was either watching sports, playing them, or playing video games. I wasn't even like SpongeBob and like all these other shows outside of wrestling. There was no shows that I was watching.
Wow.
And that includes wrestling too. And then just to fast forward, so middle school years, I'm out, and I was supposed to go to New York for a trip, and I'd saved up money. I was very excited to do it, but I didn't realize that you just can't buy plane tickets the day of or the week of. So I didn't buy my tickets in advance. And so when I went to go look at the prices, it was astronomical. I
Yeah.
didn't save up that much money. So I couldn't go on the trip. And at the time we had Dish Network, and for people, you really miss out when you check your mail and they send you
Oh, yeah.
now they like, instead of coupons, you would just get this thing from DirecTV or Dish Network or Time Warner, whoever it was, and it would tell you, sometimes it would be movies like, hey, this is on demand, you can see this movie now, or whatever boxing or WWE event. And they kept, like, there was a lot of WrestleMania 25. And I hadn't kept up. I remember one time I turned on again UPN when Teddy Long
Oh,
was
yeah.
getting married and had the heart attack or whatever, and I was like, that was the first thing of wrestling I'd seen in years. And I was like, okay, I'm not. This
I'm not
looks like a
missing much.
novella. I'm not missing much. And so other than that, but I still knew what WrestleMania was, and
Of course.
25, and I had this money for the first time in my life, having like more than $100 as a kid. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy this. I'm gonna invite my friends. We're gonna see it, and we'll see what like. It's not gonna be a waste of $50 because it's all of us just hanging out.
Yeah,
So we'll
of
see what
course.
happens. We went to Sam's Club. We got a couple boxes of pizza.
Oh,
I mean,
hell
we got
yeah.
some Pepsis. We put on WrestleMania 25. The Money in the Bank opened it up.
Oh,
That
I
was
missed that.
exciting.
Do you miss that as a WrestleMania match?
I do and I don't. I do and I don't. It was great.
Yeah, let me hear.
There should always be a ladder match, some type of match like that at WrestleMania. Doesn't
Okay.
necessarily have to do Money in the Bank, but I do think it's risen because of CM Punk and things like that. Like, it's its
Yeah.
own thing. It's like on the precipice of being the Big Four. But
Right.
I go back. So the money, I recall the Money in the Bank, and then Shawn Michaels Undertaker happens, and that match changed my fandom. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Because of that, I was introduced. I know you've had Justin LeBar on the show before.
Absolutely.
WrestleZone was at the time my Fightful. And shout
Oh,
out to the people at WrestleZone still, Bill Pritchard and everyone down
yeah.
there and the entire team. A lot of great people. So I found out about WrestleZone, and then finding out the other side of not just what's happening on the screen was more compelling than what was on the screen, to be honest. And people like David Shoemaker, who at the time was doing the Dead Wrestler of the Week on Deadspin, and obviously Grantland Ringer, everything he's doing now.
Yeah.
Those like connection points to the other side of wrestling outside of the screen, and just falling in love with that Undertaker, Shawn Michaels match, and then obviously the Triple H match the year after. And then I went to school down in Florida, so I used all my Pell Grant money to go to Miami for WrestleMania 27. And that
20,
helmet
28,
28, 27 was Atlanta.
Yeah.
Going there to seeing that match and like the craziest kick out of all time. So all these things, and then it leads into CM Punk, all these things like cemented that we're here. But I did have that gap of, I think that's where most people, like, that's where they solidified that they'd be a fan, whereas I kind of dipped out, but we got pulled right back in.
And see, that's always what I like hearing from people, because I've talked to so many different people about this type of thing with their fandom, and there's always, well, I stopped watching because of this or whatever. And even me, like when WCW closed, I was out for 4 years until Cena and Batista at Mania 21. Like both those guys kind of hooked me back in, and now I haven't really looked back. So it's cool to hear another perspective like that. And how could you not be so invested after like you go, you're going to get WrestleMania, it's going to be a good time, but then you're like, that's one of the best matches of all time. Like you're blown away by it. Wasn't just, a good match. That set in motion so much and elevated somehow both those guys at their later years. And it got you hooked back in. You never would have guessed that was what it would turn into. So it's really cool to hear that type of thing.
Yeah, 100% not. And it was really cool because there was a couple of my friends that were they knew what wrestling was. And it was funny because they were trying to leave and they couldn't. They thought the match would end like 3 separate kickouts. And so it just, the way that it got the whole room, like all 15 of us, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's the greatest match I've ever seen live.
And that's exactly. There's so many matches that I wish I could have seen live. I've been privileged to watch a few WrestleManias live and see some great moments, but like that one, that's got to be up there on your list for sure to have been be able to see something like that. What was your first like just straight up live in person wrestling show that you remember going to? And was it quickly after you got back in, or where did that take place in the whole timeline?
Shortly after, so it was still 2009. So it was that year. Yeah, because WrestleMania 25 was 2009. It was that year. It was a Monday Night Raw. Seth Green was the host. The guest host. It was a 6-man tag, Triple H, Seth Green, somebody versus Legacy. Orlando, I forgot the name of the old Magic Arena. Because even the new Magic Arena, that's not even a decade old, has had like 6 different names.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It used to be called Amalie Arena. It used to be that, but I don't think it was called. It doesn't matter. The old Magic Arena that I had to go, I got it as a birthday present because it was in July. It was around this time, and I just remember back then they had to go to like the concierge of the mall to buy it off of Ticketmaster. And I think it was like a binder, and like it would have the stack of events of what you're trying to buy a ticket for: a Magic game, this concert, this show, monster trucks. I got the cheap seats, the $25 ones, which I can't even get nothing with $25 now. But I was up there, and yeah, it was cool. And I don't remember what the Raw theme song was at the time, but the dudes from the band were also there. I don't know why I remember that, but they did the little quick shout out. Thanks to blah, 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 blah for being here. And yeah, that was the main event. Seth Green, Triple H, they went over. They won. That's my first live event. Birthday present.
and how many events would you say you've been to since?
Just like as a fan or as a media member?
Let's count them all.
In total?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I want to say less than 50.
Okay.
Maybe around that.
Still a lot whenever you consider every other month.
I was lucky because it was in Florida. So, and this is, I would go back and forth. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. That's why I don't like that you're from Pittsburgh and you like the Steelers, but nobody's perfect. I'm not either. But I also grew up in Florida, and then I went to school in Florida, and I was going to college in Florida at the time that FCW, the last years of FCW, right before the developmental was not even before they went to Full Sail, and then developmental was built outside of Orlando near Full Sail. So they'd always have like the NXT shows at the armories and stuff that they still do now.
Right.
But they would always, when they'd come to Florida, they would do Lakeland. They'd have the house shows and stuff like that. So I'd try to go as much as possible. I'd mention the Miami WrestleMania. So yeah, I would try to go as much, and then in Cleveland, and then now living here in Las Vegas, whenever there's shows in LA or Phoenix, LA, Phoenix, Vegas, San Diego, it's like a 4-hour square, 4 or
Yeah, that's
5 hours
great.
going wherever. So I've been very lucky because obviously a lot of events from WrestleManias, and even the Padres will be hosting Survivor Series. So
That's crazy.
we try to go as much as possible. And obviously with unlikely being able to travel to more events outside the country and throughout the United States it's ridiculous. But I think now less than 50. It'd be around somewhere ballpark 35 to 50.
Well, I think you'll be happening upon a few more of those events in upcoming days. Although I think that this will probably air the following week because I got other stuff coming through. But, as of this recording, we got a crazy ass weekend coming up. And
You can
I
add
know
at least 2 more, at least 2 more, 3 more. You can add 3 more to the list.
I know you're going to Dallas and Atlanta. So you're
Yes.
doing, what are you doing? All in, and then
So
what else are you doing?
we're going to All In. I still don't know if I'm going to either GCW, which is going to be Shotzi versus Matt Cardona,
Oh, that's going to be
or
great.
Hog. Started doing shows. They're primarily based out of New York, but they're starting to do stuff in Texas. They're doing a show that Friday, and you got Ring of Honor Supercard as well. So I'm still undecided on which one. And honestly, I may not go to any of them. Do some research, but All In for sure. And then obviously Evolution, which, yeah, we'll see. We're very excited for it, but we'll add those 2 to the list.
So it's very exciting. And man, like you said, like just having all these options as a fan can't really get much better than that, and it's awesome that you've been able to get these opportunities to go to these other spots for media as well. And that's what I kind of like to transition to now, where what is your background in media and just broadcasting in general, to where their origins of where you were to where, we'll get to where you are now.
Yeah, man. So I grew up in Cleveland, loving sports, listening to either the games themselves on the radio or the post-game shows where people call and complain, fire this guy. Why isn't this guy playing? Absolutely loved it. So from an early age, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Being the person talking about the game, not the one necessarily hitting the home run. And I pursued that since I was a little kid. In fact, it was like the only thing I cared about. So school, I didn't really do too good because I was like, I don't need to do any of this to talk on the microphone. I can talk and I know what I'm talking about, which wasn't that good. Yeah. Do your studies, kiddos. Do your homework.
Right.
But I went to school in Tampa, Florida, Hillsborough Community College, HCC, and also the University of South Florida. And throughout there, I was finally able to get my own radio show, which I was weird. The students in the school, everyone was able to have their own radio show, and everyone already, their show was like based around something. So it was already a basketball show. There was already a wrestling show, football.
Damn.
I didn't want to do something that everyone else was doing. I also have a huge passion for underground hip hop. I say underground hip hop, but the names I'm about to say, you're like, that's not underground at all. But if you're taking it back to like 2010, 2011, names like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, all these dudes, there wasn't a hip hop show, especially with artists like that. So I'm not a DJ. When people say, oh, you're on the radio, you're a DJ. I'm not a DJ. But we had a music show that led me to the top hip hop station in Tampa, Florida, which started my journey as an intern in the street team and finally being able to be on the microphone. And the journey of pursuing radio has led me from Tampa, Florida to Phoenix, Arizona, to now Las Vegas, Nevada, where I currently reside and will be probably living out the rest of my life in this gorgeous, wonderful, very hot city. and through a variety of genres. So whether that's top 40, whether that's hip hop, whether that's sports radio, news talk. Yeah, just following my dreams of being on the radio and making it happen. Where right now I'm in a top 40 morning show here in Las Vegas in a station called 98.5 KLUC.
Wow, that's a lot, man. That's great to hear that type of trajectory from, hey, pick a type of show you want to do, but you don't want to be just like everybody else. And like just a simple decision like that creates that butterfly effect. And now look where you are, and you're doing wonderful things. Especially now, let's get into the wrestling of it all. I mean, you touched on a couple of things that I'd like to tie back to wrestling, where you said, hip hop and everything. And I know, Peter Rosenberg's a guy that's done that forever as well. So I can see parallels with hip hop and wrestling. And how and when did you go, you know what? I want to start a wrestling pod, or I want to do this. What was the inspiration? When did the idea click for Unlikely to grow and just become something?
Well, when I first started my radio show in college, which was called The Underground, I know the most original name ever for a radio show, but hey,
Yeah.
The Underground with Adrian Hernandez. I quickly learned, outside of having the music, I was like, well, for playing underground music and independent music half of the time, you should support independent music that's in your city. So I would start having artists from around, and that's where I learned that I loved being on the radio. I love being on the radio, but the thing I enjoy is the art of conversation. I love having conversations. I love getting to interview people. So that just I get paid to talk. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We paid to talk, but using these small words. That just manifested itself into having conversations, obviously with bigger artists. Thankfully enough, bigger artists in music transitioned into sports. Sports radio is a lot of interview based. And when it comes to wrestling, wrestling and stand-up comedy, if there's a wrestling show or a stand-up in your city, more than likely, unless they're a very big name, they're looking to do media and they're looking to talk to somebody trying to sell some tickets. So whenever there was wrestling interviews available, I would always take them. I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, I'd love to talk to them. And that was always cool. There was always cool little moments. I think the first one that I did on the radio was, oh my God, Maurice, I think it was.
Not a bad start.
Maurice, or what's no. Excuse me. What's Rusev's wife's name? Lana. It was Lana.
Yeah. Wow.
It was Lana. I remember I talked to her about Ronda Rousey at the time when she was still in the WWE, her first run. And yeah, that was the first time I got on WrestleZone. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Like that was dope to me, just because being, like I said, WrestleZone was the site I've always been on. Yeah. But to not be long-winded, I would always take interview opportunities of any kind. Wrestling ones for sure, 100%. Yeah. Just being a fan. Being here in Las Vegas, there were, Las Vegas gets residencies and different types of shows that most cities don't get unless you live in New York and LA. And one of those was The Undertaker. To fast forward, this is before WrestleMania 39. And so The Undertaker announced he was doing his Dead Man show here in Vegas. And I reached out and I said, hey, The Undertaker wants to talk. I would love to interview him. And at that time, he didn't really do many interviews. Like he did Bill Simmons. He did Tony Hawk's podcast. Joe Rogan. Like it was big upper echelon, because this was before he started his podcast, but he wasn't out there like that too much. Sure. And they laughed, like they said, hey, he's probably not going to do any interviews. In my head, they laughed and said, yeah, I bet you do want to talk to him. Fast forward closer to the show, they're like, hey, we still have a couple seats available, so we want to do a couple interviews, and we know that you asked, do you want to speak to The Undertaker? I'm like, what do you mean, do I want to speak to The Undertaker?
Do I?
So I was like, yes, I will interview him. And it was cool because I've always had this thing in my head of, there's always, even for you, there's a Mount Rushmore of people you want to talk to. And for me, I'm like, yeah, but what if that happens? What am I going to say? So for instance, LeBron James, like, hey man, thanks for being awesome. Yo, you're incredible. Like, what am I actually going to say other than to be in awe? And Undertaker kind of falls under that that box of like, oh my God. But luckily for me, I'm an overthinker. They told me that hey, it's gonna be tomorrow. So it's perfect. So in my head, it's like
Yeah.
perfect. I don't need to review anything. My life is my study guide. I've watched
Yeah,
everything.
you know.
The one thing I didn't mention earlier is the Undertaker Brock Lesnar rivalry. When Undertaker threw him through the paper stage at Unforgiven as a kid, I thought it was amazing. I'm like, that's just the fancy, expensive construction paper from Staples. But anyway, I thought that was insane, and the Hell in the Cell match that they had. That rivalry, like, so the Undertaker is one of my guys. And obviously WrestleMania 25, I just said too, very important. So I didn't feel like I needed to do research. I was very excited. We did the interview. It was only 15 minutes. I've said this a couple times to people, but he also got interviewed by CVV, and CVV got 30 minutes. I got 15 minutes. I watched both interviews. I'm very biased. Everyone has an ego. I just thought, I was like, hey man, my interview was just as good as his, if not better. Because there were certain things that I talked about that he didn't necessarily talk about. And I was like, hey, you got more time. And when that happened, then I was like, hey, like, obviously this guy has built a foundation and he's been doing this for years. And he's very good at it. And I was like, if I can compare myself now, like if I can be comparable, I was like, I can do this. I want to take a swing at it at least and find out. So after that moment, I kind of moved with intentionality, and started doing things even outside of the radio station and kind of doing it on my own with creating Unlikely, which the whole thing of Unlikely is a kid from Cleveland who didn't do too good in school, is in these rooms with some of these names that never thought I'd be able to get to talk to, and be unlikely to have a conversation with them, and some of the people's unlikely journeys to get to where they're at as well. And I just liked having it being one name, which shout out to CVV because his is Insight, mine's Unlikely. I was like, yo, that fits. I love it. That's perfect. So after that moment, that's when I was like, okay, I feel like I can do this. Let's take a swing at it. And here we are, because that was right before WrestleMania 39. So about less than 3 years ago.
Yeah, time flies, right?
Yeah, so there we are. That's the long short story.
Well, so many little things I'd like to just pick out of that. Like, you have to believe in yourself, right? So like, who else is going to be, one, your biggest critic, but your biggest supporter other than yourself sometimes? So when you see that 15 minutes to 30 minutes, of CVV, no one's taking any disrespect to him. Like, he's where he's at because he's earned it, and he's done it for a while. But you maximized your 15 minutes, and why can't you be like, I think I did a better job, And I love that you say you're a thinker. I'm an overthinker. I think a lot of us probably hate to admit that, but at the same time, I like that it kind of settled you in when it was like, we'll do it the next day. And the other part was, it's interviews, but it's also with like meet and greets, any type of interaction with people. The odds of you saying something to that person or asking them something they've never heard is very, very minute. So go in with whatever you think you would want to hear back from them, something unique, interesting, or in your case, unlikely, And I think it's something that a lot of people should take, and just trust in yourself. And if you feel like you can do it and you belong, the proof will be there and you'll see it. So it's cool to hear that you came and what you did from all these different interactions with people and how you grew and you bounced into radio and you're doing these. And it's just really cool to hear. And honestly, there's a reason I wanted to have you on the show. I think you're one of the better, just profiled guys in the community, just doing this content creation thing. You're seemingly very genuine, nice guy. And I've only talked to you for 30 minutes. But just seeing interactions that you've had with people, you seem very authentic. And I think that is maybe not missing, but it should be out there more. I think a lot more people should have that type of mindset to better the whole group instead of, just being selfish or what have you.
And thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm not good at compliments, but thank you.
Absolutely, man. It's nothing. I do want to ask what, you brought up Undertaker and that, you have a Mount Rushmore, or you have, people you want to talk to, a bucket list rather. Is there a favorite interview you've done already that you can be like, this is one that if everything got deleted off my hard drives and from the cloud, but one, which one are you most happy you got to do, or how it turned out? What does that land for you?
It's crazy because there's so many to choose from.
Which is a good problem to have.
100%. I think, man, because they're like, hey, you've talked to Stone Cold, and
Twice.
I'm appreciated that. No, and that's amazing. But just like the genuine, it was a conversation. Man, damn it, Becky was great. I'm gonna go with Adam Copeland.
Okay.
Because so I told you I went to that WrestleMania in Miami, and I made my girlfriend at the time make me an Edge sign. Big fan of Edge, thought he was dope. And obviously his journey. And at the time, this was less than 3 months. It might have been the next pay-per-view following his debut. Because it was the Full Gear that was in LA where my son's drawing.
I was gonna say, look out, turtle down.
Heel turn.
No. Oh no. You gotta have the Cena face.
Heel. Can't even do it. I'm smiling too much because of this great moment. It was the Full Gear where it was Sting, Copeland, and Darby, and they all did the face paint like Sting. And I believe that was the first pay-per-view, his first AEW pay-per-view match after he debuted in Seattle and came in at the end. So I never thought I'd get to talk to Edge, and he was like he wasn't retired. He had just left WWE. So it was just good to get his insight on certain things. And one of the things I base if I'm a good interviewer or not, I try not to watch too many interviews just because my head, it's just a weird thing that I have. But there was only one answer that I heard him say a phrase that he had said in another interview. And I was very mad. I was like, damn it, that means I didn't ask something original. But just the genuineness of the conversation, simple things to be like, hey, man, no disrespect, because the timeline of you leaving was months after WrestleMania. But in my eyes, you are someone who, if you're going to have a final match, it should be at a WrestleMania. Why didn't you? And granted, he did retire in Toronto, which means a lot to him. Things like, hey, what do you, because this was right before Thanksgiving. I was like, hey, man, what are you thankful for? And he just gave this like amazing answer and like insight on him being a dad and his day-to-day. It was a very nice, genuine conversation, and another one where I was given more time, just because I think he seemed like he was engaged in the conversation himself. And it was just really cool because it's just one of those names you never think of. And it was a good talk. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's one that goes up there, especially the timing of it too. Because like I said, he had just joined AEW. He hadn't done too many as well. So just getting that opportunity was awesome. And I think I hit it out the park. And I think people really resonated with that. And it was a cool perspective. And I'm very petty and competitive. I don't know if I've said that a couple times on here, but he got interviewed by ESPN. The hockey like the ESPN hockey personalities did it. And I don't care. It was ESPN and I got more views. I was very proud of that. I was like, that's cool.
And you should be. You absolutely should be. And it's also I'm sure at a point you never would have thought you would have gotten to not only just interview him, but see him wrestle again, so long ago. And for him to kind of revitalize that and come back in 2020 and have this renaissance and now doing great stuff in AEW to where, he'll probably have a second great retirement. Like it's awesome to see. And I was a huge Edge head when he was, at the pinnacle of his career. I got to see him win his first world title live at Armageddon 07. So like, just really cool that that's the one that you seem to be most maybe proud of or got the chance to even do it. And I like that you got the timing to ask him a Thanksgiving question and he gave you a knockout answer. That's great.
Especially because he was Canadian. He's like, hey, man, I know this is just a Thursday for you. This is a Thursday for you, but what are you thankful for? And it was great. So, yeah, shout out to that one. That one goes on the bucket list, and I'm thankful that there's a few more that I'm mad that I haven't been able to say like as an answer, but that's a good problem to have. So
Absolutely, man. And yeah, that's the goal is how many can you get? What's the next one? You never want to be cool with it. All right, well, I did so many. There's always the next opportunity or interview to have there. So, again, great perspective to hear from someone like you. So, um, now I know you've been a part of some media scrums over the last, however long they've been doing them, probably 2-ish years. They've been consistently both AEW and WWE doing them. Do you have a favorite moment from any of them that or a funny story from one of them? Because as someone, at this juncture, I have not gotten to be at one, but I've seen them and I've watched them, and I'm very intrigued by the nature of them because it's like kind of like a work. What do they want to ask? What do they want to hear? And there's just anything could happen seemingly. So, from your perspective and your experience, give me some funny insight or some unique moment that's happened at a media scrum you've attended, or maybe a good question you've asked.
Well, I've been planning on asking John Cena a question for like the past 4 scrums, and as you've noticed, there's been mic drops. Everybody in the media is fake news or
And
archers
table.
going through a table. So each time they're like, "Yeah, you're about to." They've like, you get a heads up when someone's asking a question. They tell you, "Hey, you're next if you're chosen." It's not like assigned or predetermined. It's there in the moment. Similar to here in Las Vegas, I cover the Raiders, cover Las Vegas Aces of the WNBA, UFC, and boxing events as well. So you only ever really get the heads up as the person's asking a question because you're next. And so they've told me next. And then as John Cena's walked off each time, I looked at them and they're like, because they don't seemingly they don't know either. So they're just like, hey, they tell us he's coming up, and we know we can ask them. He's gonna answer 4 or 5 questions, whatever the amount is. So that's been like a funny inside, like for the people that have been in the room. Like, all right, well, I don't even want to ask them a question anymore.
Well, that's what should happen. You should be like, all right, it's your turn. You say your name and you go, you know what? I don't even want to ask a question
Yeah,
anymore.
it's all good. It's all good. Last you've been rude the past 4 times. You're fake news, brother. All right. I off the top of my head, I guess I talked about the mic drop with Cena. Getting to ask The Rock a question was cool.
Yeah, especially with how
It,
you talked about how he kind of looked up to him. So that's really cool.
and it's tough for me to say that because I didn't like my question too much. I thought it was a little generic, like looking back at it. But I was just I didn't expect to be able to ask him a question.
Right,
Um,
right.
so I was like, "Oh, you guys are letting me talk. Oh, I get to ask this question." I will say his
Right.
answer is the first voice that you hear for night 1 of WrestleMania this year. Like when they fade to it, The Rock's the first person that talks, and they'll show him at the press conference. I was like, I asked that question, which is cool. So I was like, okay, I was a dumb question, but they still used it. I mean, at the last AEW pay per view, Double or Nothing, I knew it was Tony Storm, and I wanted to mess around and play with that. Because I'm from the perspective other than Triple H, I I try to stick in character because I think it's the misconception people have with questions that are asked is ultimately no matter what you ask, all you can do is ask.
Yeah.
Because you're basically like you can't force anyone to answer a question.
Yep.
And I would assume majority of wrestling fans or sports fans, NFL press conferences are the most useless thing in the world, especially when you talk to more important players like quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to adjust. We move on one game at a time. Time for next week. You're a Steelers fan, Mike Tomlin. Got a whole
Yeah.
soundboard of bullshit that he says, and that's what it is. They don't have to say it. Bill Belichick. There's countless coaches, right? And players do the same thing. So I find it hilarious when there are some critiques like, what do you think? Like, there's only so much that they get out of this.
Yeah.
And so I choose to have fun with my question as opposed to like, oh, you have respect for me because I asked a tough question that they didn't even answer.
Right.
And I will say that, and again, this is why I say with Triple H, it's different because of his position. Everyone else, and I could be wrong in my philosophy. I'm just saying what my philosophy is when it comes to people on the roster. Like I'm assuming they're in character for the most part.
True, for sure.
But just getting to use. Sorry, I'm being long-winded about this, but with Tony Storm, I keep saying that for all my answers. Tony Storm, at Double or Nothing, I used orgasmic. I was like, that's crazy. Never thought that this would happen in a question. And she had fun with that answer, and it still makes me laugh to this day because her answer was amazing. Money in the Bank last year in Toronto, where John Cena announced his retirement. But also CM Punk came out to do the press conference. I believe that was the first time I got to talk to Punk in any form or fashion. As much as Triple H or the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match was the reason why I came back to wrestling, the reason why I'm here doing what I do now is because of CM Punk, the Pipe Bomb 2011, going back, stealing my dad's credit card, buying his ROH DVDs, like learning the history of what I had missed out on and the independence and this whole other side of wrestling outside of WWE is because of CM Punk. So to get to talk to them at Money in the Bank, which you were asking me, what do you think of the Money in Bank pay-per-view? Like to me, it is a big four because 2011, it's the greatest $50 I've ever spent. One of the most I wouldn't say underrated pay-per-views, but it is one of the best pay-per-views of the 2010s, in my opinion. When you look back at that pay-per-view.
Yeah, and I'm kind of I want to say I'm on the side where you were, where it's kind of half and half. Like I like Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. Like when it first happened, it was such an amazing, like unique. You know, it's going to happen every year, and only one time did even someone cash in. What 8 months later, like Edge in January, like so many people cashed in so quick. Now it's positioned with its own PLE that you have it as I call it the Royal Rumble before SummerSlam. Like you kind of get a kind of pseudo chance to have your moment, but you can also skip SummerSlam and take it a lot further than that if you'd like. So I like both aspects, but I mean, it's become its own show. So, I mean, they're not going to not do it. I just hope they don't go 2 nights because that seems like it could be overkill.
Yeah, they're for a lot of things. They shouldn't be doing 2 nights for SummerSlam either, but we'll see.
You don't think?
And hopefully not. No, not at all.
Just WrestleMania
I would rather leave the crowd wanting more.
Yeah.
Than giving them too much. Dangerous game. We'll see.
And to give you a Mike Tomlin quote, I can't give you all the ingredients to the hot dog. You might not like it.
See? All right, Triple H.
So, yeah, but you're right. All these guys are like, what do they always say? Like they're media trained. And you're only going to hear what they want to give you. And so I like how you brought up the Tony Storm thing. Like you said a word that might have triggered something that she wasn't expecting. And it's just that little bit they could give you the clip that no one else is going to have. So that's a nice philosophy to kind of pick and choose where you want to go. And it's also good that you kind of downplayed yourself with like, man, I didn't know what to ask The Rock. I got to ask it. It was great, but you still got it. And yet you didn't know what you were going to get with the Tony Storm thing. And yet you knocked it out of the park. So you kind of, give and take, tit for tat. And I mean, ultimately, it's clearly still been very successful for you. So you must be doing something correct. I do want to ask this. How surreal was it to interview Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I still don't believe it. Even just because of the setup, I had hired a production company here in Las Vegas, a good group of people. It's a small business here in Vegas. They're a small business, but they do the production for the Raiders and everything. Like when you go to the Raiders game or any content that they have at like Raiders.com, they're like the ones who handle it. But it's cool because I would assume if an NFL team's not hiring a couple dudes, couple gals and dudes putting on a little show in this little office, and no, that's what they did, and they're the best at it. So to be able to be like, hey man, I didn't think this was gonna happen. Can you guys help me out? And they did. And my dream, I'm very keen on presentation. I think presentation is very important. Any money that I've been lucky enough to make from wrestling and the wrestling content, I try to put all of it back into it. Because
I like to hear that. I like to hear that it's like paying it forward and you're helping the whole cause for yourself and everybody else. But continue.
No, you have to. Things have to look clean. in this world where there's a million people, you have to separate yourself somehow. And looking at something in 8K when everything else isn't, as an example.
Right.
So anyway, it was a dream to have just a production like that, like multiple camera angles, proper lighting. Oh, this is big time. This is what I want this to be all the time. So that was cool. And then it was Stone Cold. And yeah, it's Stone Cold. What the hell? Like, even as a broadcaster, I used to enjoy his podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the production was surreal, and then it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, I right now, I've talked to him twice. It might be a third time coming soon, but still, like, I can't fathom that. I have this thing. I've sent messages to people because, hey, I want to talk. Like, I sent Stone Cold Steve Austin a DM, and I said, hey, I'm going to interview you one day. And this was maybe 2 to 3 years ago. And so to see that manifestation actually happen, has been surreal. And for him to just, bro, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know what you want me to say. For him to sit down with me, like, that's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And I appreciated it. And it also was a challenge because I wasn't there because of wrestling. So I wasn't able to just talk to him about wrestling the entire time, which was a little bittersweet, but it was also a challenge. And ultimately, I don't think people understand. You've seen it with Stephanie's Places when she did the episode on Stone Cold, and then the A&E series that led to him getting into what he's doing now with these races. Like, I had never heard of this. I didn't know that this was a thing. He does these races, for example, and it's like, hey, from Las Vegas to Reno, for people that don't know, it's like a 5-hour drive. You do this race through the desert. This is not NASCAR where you do 500 laps on Daytona, or F1 where there is a track. There is no track. It is literally the desert. People have done the race before, so you can try to follow their path. But if it's dusty, if there's a dust storm, whatever the climate has changed the weather to be on the ground, like, you're just going for it. And I was like, this is crazy. What, like, when do you pee? There's no pit, there's no gas stations. You're doing this on the desert. How do you stay hydrated? What's the fitness like? You're older, dude. So it was at least like it was something that was fascinating to me, because again, I didn't know that it existed, and then to transition that into wrestling was really cool. And the relationship with the team that he's a part of has been really awesome. Even this year at WrestleMania, I was lucky enough. I walked into, they had a suite. They were a part of WWE World, which was a really good look for them, for people to just find out more about their team. And I walked into their suite night 2 early on. Like, I think it was right after the triple threat match. And I noticed that someone wasn't there. And I was like, hey, where is he? And he's kind of busy. I was like, say no more. And then we know what happened later that night. So it's a surreal thing, and I'm very thankful. It's like, dude, I don't know what to say, man.
Right. Do you feel like sometimes with any of these people that you might interview, especially a guy to the caliber of Stone Cold, you feel like, am I really, is this happening? Is this really my life? Like, and like you said, you kind of manifested it. Like, you don't think it's going to maybe happen in the back of your mind, like, there's a chance, but you're being realistic, and what has to happen legitimately, logistically, to actually make it happen. And yet it still does. I mean, that's gotta be, how does that feel?
It's a beautiful feeling, and it's very rewarding. Make no mistake, there is wrestling content, wrestling podcasts are like the the foundation of podcasting, in my opinion. My son's home. If he comes in here, I apologize. But wrestling podcasts they've been doing it since
pal.
Podcasts for wrestling have been done since wrestling podcasts were created. Sai, what's up, dude? Yes, love. Can you close the door, Papa? Daddy's at work. I love you though. Anyway, So when I say that wrestling podcasts were there since the beginning, there's a
Yeah.
million people that do wrestling interviews. There's a million people that do wrestling podcasts. Now, content creation, whether that's just on TikTok or just on Instagram or just on YouTube, let alone it isn't just WrestleZone or Fightful, all
Yeah.
these different places, all these different insiders. It's a very, very, and also now it's super popular. Um,
Right.
so there's a lot of different people attempting to do this. So it's been awesome to see the growth that I've seen when it's a difficult thing, and I'm very appreciative because people have a million options, not just in wrestling content. Like
Oh
that's the
yeah.
one thing I like when Triple H says he's like, "Hey, we're competing against everything," because you are competing against everything. You have access to a phone. You can see now you can watch or listen to whatever you want.
At any
So for
time.
so for people to take time to watch an interview or to listen to it is surreal. It's freaking dope.
Yeah. I mean, again, and you've earned it, and it has to feel like it's extra more like special to you to be like, I did this. Like I went through and like it. You said it yourself. It was unlikely. You didn't think could happen. You didn't know what you could become, and now you've done it, and you continue to do it at a very high level. So a couple quick things before we get out of here, because I love finishing off with the rapid fire. So we'll close with that.
Let's do
But
it. You got all my time in the world, man. So if we need to do a 4 hours something to wrestle with, I'm here. I'm an open book. You got me.
oh man, well it gives me pressure because I'm like I only got a couple more things. We'll
No,
have to
let's
set
run
up a
through it. I got you. I'm a yapper. It'll be another 20 minutes. I got you.
the Dapper Yapper. So let's do another one here. Any advice on any upcoming content creators and how would you go about figuring out how to ask the right questions when you do get to interact? So I guess that's a two-pronged question where just content creators and how to maybe separate yourself from how, all the people you kind of discussed in a broad sense. And when you get to have an interview with anybody, even the tiniest of interviews with a wrestler or whoever, how do you go about finding the right questions that maybe they haven't heard before or to get an answer you want that you haven't heard before?
I'll start with the first one when it comes to content creation. My advice is just to start. You got to start. Um, you have to start, and you know what you're in your head, what you want to attain, what you're aspiring to be, or aspiring to be like, and realize that to be able to achieve that, it is going to take a massive amount of work, and consistency is such a key thing.
I agree.
People talk about YouTube, and you got to feed it every day. Um, and the other algorithms seem to be like that too. And whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever we're talking about. Um, so there's an amount of dedication to it. So if you don't feel like, I'm saying you need to start, but also if you don't feel like, hey, if I do this, but then I can't do another episode for another 3 months, it's like, hey, you need to take that time to prepare, to know that when you can finally put in some effort and be able to do that over the long haul, like that's the moment. You need to make that decision. You need to make that sacrifice because you just need to keep doing. And you don't, and it's very hard for a multitude of reasons, not just content creators. We're always looking at our phone, hoping that one like turns into 100 or 1,000 or 100,000. And that's what our value is based on online, right? How much retweets, how much this, that, and the third. You have to block that stuff out, and you just need to keep creating, because it might take 3 years for you. It might take 4 years. It might take however long, man. Ultimately, it might not even happen. Um, but the only thing that you can do is be prepared and have something to present, so that if you do get that one person that watches or listens, they can see this back catalog if they want to get more, and they now know not only can they get more, they can expect more. Because why am I going to watch this if I know that there's not going to be more of this in the future? So to me, it's about starting. You have to start. You have to block out you cannot you cannot compare yourself to people that have been doing this for decades. I mean, I brought up CVV, but
Yeah.
I also said that, hey, I know that he's been doing this for years. So it's not fair to yourself, and I don't think it's healthy mentally to try to compare yourself to certain people that have put the time and the work in the blood, sweat, and tears. The Denise Salcedo's, Sean Ross Sapps, like all these big names, they're there for a reason because they work their ass off. And you need to start that path and know that you're in year one, they're in year whatever. Worry about your own stuff and having stuff to present. And then when it comes to questions, that's interesting because I've done a very selfish thing. I've asked the questions that I'm curious about. So when I interviewed The Undertaker, there was a moment in the Last Ride docuseries when he takes off his tape from his arms and he throws it into the basket, the trash, and goes, Kobe.
Yeah.
And I knew he played basketball, and I knew that that was just such a random human moment. It's The Undertaker, the dead man, doing something that we all do when we throw away trash. So I just wanted, and I knew he played basketball before, and I'm so jealous of his host before he got the boot, and they brought in his wife when they signed the deal with Fanatics, because he got to talk to him about Hakeem Olajuwon when he was down in Texas, and they were both on the court at the same time, and that's such a surreal thing to think about. But I did get to ask him about Kobe and how much he loved him, and just Undertaker talking about Mamba mentality is amazing. And I would have followed up with the time he went to the Cavs game in full gear to meet LeBron, and LeBron never came out, but I didn't have time. And I'm saying this publicly, and someone's going to steal the question, but it's fine. This is my proof that I spoken into existence. Don't steal my shit. So selfishly, I've asked questions that I think are intriguing and something I've always wanted to know. I was recently talked to Booker T within the past month of this airing, and I asked him about the Hungry Man sponsorship that he had. Because like, well, how much money did you get? A card? Did you get free Hungry Man sent to you? Like, what was the sponsor? What does it mean to be the spokesperson of Hungry Man? Absolutely ridiculous question. I was interested in that answer.
Of course.
And so I guess you can take out of that, like, do not follow. I've done sports radio. I've done sports radio. I love sports radio. And the one thing I have trepidation about is, why would anyone listen to me over whatever analyst that's a former player? Like, what's separating?
Yeah.
And everyone can read the score of the game. They can say that the Steelers beat the Ravens 17-10. We all have that information. It's how you present yourself. And you need to do that. Present yourself. Stop trying to be someone that you're not. Stop trying to fish for whatever side, like trying to a segment of the population. Stop trying to be controversial. Like, be yourself. Do not be Jonathan Coachman. You know what I'm saying? Over here, just like trying to go for clickbait. Or don't try to be the Stephen A. Smith of like everything is the end of the world and it's super dramatic. Like, bro, be yourself. And if you have that within yourself, if that's a part of you, like, it's more human and it makes it a bigger moment. Because like, damn, I didn't know Todd acted like that. Well, I guess that's a hot button for him. I guess he really didn't like X wrestler or thought this guy was overrated. But if you keep doing that a million times, like, now we know what you're doing, and we can get that from somewhere. And if I want to hear someone yell, I'll listen to Stephen A. Smith yell, because he yells better than you. You know what I mean? So just be yourself. That's the biggest thing. And I guess this is a tangible thing that you can do, because I told you that asking questions, I'm selfish and ask the ones that I like, things I've always wondered about. With that being said, is don't waste people's time. I was extremely apologetic to you for missing the episode we were supposed to record earlier, because to me, time is so important. And I wouldn't have said yes to you if I was like, hey, man, we need to do this in a rush. I got 5 minutes. I got 10 minutes. And like, respect people's time, because especially if you're talking to a wrestler of prominence or talking to whoever, they got a million other things that they could be doing. And probably doing it for money, let alone doing this free interview talking to you. So please come correct and have respect for whoever you're talking to and be researched.
Yeah. I mean, you hit all the points that like I've kind of tried to follow and hear from other people, and, you know, just hearing perspectives on you might, you know, be a little too hard on yourself, and you're like, well, it's selfish to ask questions that I want to hear the answers to because I'm intrigued by it. But you also have to put yourself in the realm that if you're asking a wrestler a question, that you want to hear the answer to, the reason you're even doing that is because you have such a passion for it. You were a fan, whatever. The odds are a lot of other wrestling fans are going to end up loving what you asked, know your audience, because you were the audience, you were the demographic, and now you're kind of on the other side of it, and you can give them what you want to hear. And more often than not, it'll probably be that intriguing. And I love that you picked up the nuance of the Kobe thing, because that is something that other people might not see. It's the attentiveness. It's, wow, did you notice that? I did that. We all did that. And then you kind of click and you ask, and you never know what they might be caught off guard. I said that earlier, like, ask questions that you don't know if they've ever heard, or find something that get them to answer that's not robotic,
Yeah.
And it can be tough. It can be daunting. It's not, no one's saying it's easy, but if you can find that then helps what you also said of, like, build your own brand, be yourself. Don't follow what they do. Be the person that some can look at you and they can grab something from. Like, create your own good from this person, but I have good from both sides. I can kind of present my own way. And I think people will be drawn to you being yourself and believing in that, because if they see that you're yourself and you've gotten to interview Steve Austin and all these things, wow, if I'm myself and I believe in that, maybe I could get to a spot I want to, eventually do. So
absolutely.
It's all just paying attention and like you said, respect about people's time and where they come from, and asking the right questions. So couldn't have said it better myself, man, to be honest with you.
Thank you. And thank you for the support. You are better than my therapist, and I need to have a conversation with her next week. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to play her this tape and be like, what's going on?
That's right. What's going on here? I just met this guy an hour ago. You got to interview Steve Austin twice. WrestleMania is going to Vegas twice. What the hell's happening? 2 years in a row, and now you get it again.
What's this fake agenda? What's this crying about? What's going on? Did I miss the 5 years we went to Barclays Center for SummerSlam? No one had a problem with that. And they have rats. It smells in Brooklyn. It's dirty in New York. I don't know if you've ever been. Then we go to LA for 5 years, at the Staples Center for 5 years in a row for Brock Lesnar matches. I didn't hear nobody complain about that. Now you want to come to the epicenter, the entertainment capital of the world, as we bring in Super Bowls, as we bring in whatever convention. We do it better than anybody in the world. We have an arena that is in the shape of a planet. It's called the Sphere. It's ridiculous. It's the only thing WWE needs to do. They need to do a show there. Like, it's crazy. We have the hotels. We have the amazing food. We have the venues to host all the independents. Like, what's going on? It's expensive, 100%. The ticket price, like, that's it. You are mad. You are upset at the ticket prices. Please do not. That has nothing to do with the city. There's nothing to do with the city at all. Like, what do you like? It is crazy. We just forgot about the 5 years of SummerSlam in LA. It was LA, then it was New York. The 5 years of it. Like, what are we talking about?
And I agree with you. I am coming from the perspective of, man, it was kind of expensive last year and I didn't get to go, and I'll probably not get to go again. That's where my selfishness comes from.
Literally just the prices. It would have been expensive in New Orleans with less stuff to do. And also, I don't want to hear it from New Orleans. New Orleans got 2 WrestleManias in 5 years. That hadn't been done since back in the early, like the first one when Vegas did it, like in the early years of WrestleMania back then.
Yeah.
So, like, New Orleans, you got 2 WrestleManias in 5 years that happened a decade ago. That doesn't, you've had the Super Bowl. You are a big event city just like us. You guys are getting a WrestleMania in 2 or 3 years. Relax. Calm down. You guys are so selfish. Yo, we have the best. Does New York have better food than Las Vegas? If you think New York does, you're incorrect. You're incorrect. And we have less rats in our kitchen. Again, I'm just saying.
So I went to the first Brooklyn SummerSlam in 2015. Didn't see any rats, but I was also the first one. So, the rest of them I couldn't.
You were blinded by the hype. Let's be honest.
Right, blinded by the hype. And then the WrestleManias I've gotten to go to were Dallas, Orlando, New Orleans, and New York. And then I just went to the one in Philly. So, I've enjoyed every single city. And to be quite honest with you, man, I have not been to Las Vegas yet. I've been out to the West Coast a bunch, and I've still never even gotten to the Vegas. And I was hopeful to try to get there last year. Didn't happen. And I'm like, maybe I'll push it down the line for something else. And now it's like, well, here it is again. I'll try to make it happen. We'll see what happens. I love the prospect of going to Vegas. I've never been, and I know that it's got to be as exciting as people make it out to be. And you live there now. You're from Cleveland, and I was at SummerSlam in Cleveland. It was all right.
No, it was fantastic. The stadium sucks, but so does the team.
I like the location of the stadium. I'll say that. I liked it right on the water. I thought that was nice.
Yeah. If you're getting annoyed at Vegas, listen, after this WrestleMania, guess what's coming? WWE headquarters being built in Los Angeles.
Yeah, they're going right there.
And the UFC WWE Performance Center, the second one, the West Coast wing of WWE Performance Centers. Like, we're not going anywhere. So, whatever. I don't care. Be mad. Send all the tweets you want, but I'll put up Vegas against any city in this country. I'm just being honest.
And I can't blame, so I'm not mad. I just have this little bit of a different perspective, and I absolutely agree. Like, how if they weren't going to go to New Orleans, like if they just however that fell through for this upcoming WrestleMania, why wouldn't you go back to Vegas with the success that it had? I mean, they took over the whole damn city. There were shows every night for any company all throughout the whole thing, and it's a city that never sleeps and always parties. Like, it's the perfect venue for WrestleMania, because I've always said, look, if you don't go to any wrestling shows in your life other than a WrestleMania, even just once, do it, because whatever city it goes to, the whole city just flips, and it's every bar's got wrestling themes, and everybody there is all there for the same reason. And it's not for a team or a different team that you don't like. You like everybody. You're rooting for everybody. You're hating everybody. It's a wonderful experience. So if the money's in Vegas, I can't blame WWE, because they're on fire right now. So more power to you, man.
Yeah, I'm blessed, and I understand that it's super expensive, and I'm speaking from a privileged place, because each of those nights that week I slept in my damn bed.
And it
was a wonderful feeling. I didn't have to pay for no hotel, didn't have to pay for no parking, didn't have to pay for no ticket, and the ticket prices are ridiculous, and they need to change. I'm 100% serious about that. I just, when it comes to Vegas itself, though, come on, man. We the best city in the U.S. And we don't even have the A's yet. Wait till A Stadium opens up. Wait till we get our NBA team. Now we outside for real.
I hope the A's get a few more wins going to Vegas, because I did get to see. I know.
No, they're new.
I got to see the A's at the Coliseum before they went out, and it was sad.
Yeah, well, their owner's a douche, so that probably isn't going to change. But anyway. I'm very lucky to have WrestleMania back here in Vegas 2 years in a row. You couldn't write a better script. You couldn't write a more unlikely positive script for your boy. So I'm very blessed, and I'm very grateful for that. It's incredible.
And I'm happy for you, because that's exciting. So I went to those first 4 Manias that I said, and then COVID hit, and I hadn't gone to one since then. And then it goes to Philly. So I had a buddy that's lived near there, and we drove out there. So there was no flight, there was no hotel, and things were a lot easier. So I cannot blame you. If they came to a city that you live in, how could you not love that? And you're only paying for food, maybe? Like, it's great. That's wonderful. I'm jealous, to be honest with you.
I don't blame you. I can't believe it.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I hopefully, my only thing is, I like the challenge of, it was just there. How can you make it different from last year? What can you change and make it even better? You can stack up to what you just did, somehow make it better. Put the front row fans a little bit further back, so if Steve Austin comes out, he can have a little bit more wiggle room with that ATV. Anything.
Well, they set the bar low with the main event to close out the show on the weekend. So
anything can be better than that.
So they heady play. Make the first one bad. So even if it's decent, it'll automatically be better. So there we go.
First one in Vegas last year. Oh, well, look at this. How could you not love this one?
Yeah, no Travis Scott this time.
And that's sad, because I'm a huge Travis Scott fan, and I'm a huge wrestling fan. And for things to come together like that, I was like, this is wonderful, until it wasn't, And I'm like, God, you should have just left well enough alone and gave him 4x4 for the theme song and gave him Fiend 1,000 times. He didn't need to come out and walk during a run-in and mess up the whole thing.
Nah, it was a bad experience. But we can't end this on a positive note. We need to move on, or on the negative note.
Negative note. So we will end it on a positive note with my favorite thing to do with anybody that's coming to the Juice Box for the first time. And who knows, maybe you'll come in another time. And I'd love to talk to you again because this has been a wonderful discussion with you to start off. Before we do the rapid fire, where can they find you? All over podcasting, YouTube. Give me your links and all that.
Get your pencils out, kids, because I do not have the same thing for all my socials. So we'll start off with YouTube, youtube.com/Adrian, ADRIANCLE 93, or search Unlikely with Adrian Hernandez, which you can find wherever podcasts are available, even on Spotify. You can watch the video on Spotify, which I think is a cool new feature that they've added recently.
That's dope.
Instagram and TikTok at Heavyweight Radio, on Twitter, Adrian Radio 93, and on Facebook, just search Adrian Hernandez, and I'm sure you'll find me there as well. And if you take a second, if you just click play on one interview and just watch 1 second, I'm incredibly thankful for that because, like I said earlier, there's a million places you can go for wrestling content. So we appreciate anybody who checks us out.
Absolutely, man. And I hope more people can get to that and watch you and see the progress you continue to make in this community. And like I said, I really appreciate you hopping in here. Through hell or high water, we made it happen. And I think it's been wonderful. So let's close this out with my favorite, the rapid fire. These are all wrestling based and they're all over the place. But I think each person giving the answers, it's just very intriguing to hear where they come from as a fan.
Let's get it. Let's go.
Let's rattle it off. Hogan or Flair?
Flair.
Favorite era of The Undertaker?
American Badass.
Would you be interested in Rock Cena 3?
No.
That makes one of us because I really want to see it.
Well, I would like to see the promo. I would not like to see the match. I would like to see the lead. I would not like to see the match.
Yeah, you're probably dead on. So, all right, I agree. Pay-per-views taking place on Saturday or Sunday?
Dude, because even The Rock got hurt the second time, and Cena's a much slower. So the match,
right.
But the build would be fantastic, especially now. Like, imagine if Cena was a face and he really gets to break the fourth wall and goes, "Hey, why'd you mess up this year?" You know what I'm saying? Like, if they could go that route. Yeah. And say, why did you mess up what we were doing? That would be brilliant. But then the match would happen, and it's like, I'm sorry. The question you asked now: Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah,
Saturday all the way.
I absolutely agree with that. Favorite WrestleMania?
If I have to pick one, I'm gonna keep it generic. WrestleMania 17.
You can't go wrong with that.
When Big Show, when they went through the wall. In the hardcore battle royal?
And the glass.
Jesus. Yeah, but the wall meant something to me. Because didn't they go through the wall with the golf cart?
Well, he threw Raven through the glass. Kane and Big Show went through the wall. The golf cart ran over a wire that almost cut the feed to the show.
Is that for real?
Yeah, it was really close.
I did not know that.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
And then the Undertaker Triple H, when Undertaker threw him off the scaffold.
The whole damn show, dude. The whole show is amazing.
Trish looked amazing.
One of my favorite matches. Trish looked great. The gimmick battle royal with all the old school guys.
Fantastic.
And so by the way, the questions for this rapid fire, unless I'm going to talk to someone that I know there's maybe a different type of wrestling they've seen or favor to, they're all the same questions. So it's great that this next question is going to be perfect for you because of what we already talked about. What's your favorite? Shawn Michaels Undertaker 1 or 2? I'm talking Mania 25 or 26.
1.
Me too. That people love to say that second match, but maybe because the stakes are higher, but you can't top that first match because no one thought it was going to be that.
The second one had Matt Striker on commentary. And it also
case closed.
Yeah. The one thing I do appreciate about the second one is when Undertaker is doing his entrance. This is such a random thing that sticks in my mind. They cut as he starts walking down after he does the hands up for the fire. They cut to the blimp and the blimp comes in and shows Glendale, the Cardinal Stadium was partially opened. So there was only a little bit that basically covers the 50-yard line. And not even enough to see the sidelines if it was the football field. So it was just a little glimpse, but that's where the ring was. And they cut to that little shot, and I was like, oh, that's fire. That looks incredible. And they had the LED circle thing when it came out.
Yeah.
So I was like, the presentation was a little bit better, but the match itself, because it wasn't, not that it wasn't, it was unexpected, because those are two of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But I don't think people thought it would be one of the greatest matches, if not the greatest match of all time in WWE history. So that unexpected factor just like makes it a little bit better, because 26, it was teased throughout the year, and it was impressive that they did that.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And the story was great, and the match was fire too, but it's just a little different.
And the second match doesn't have as much panache without that first match happening. You know, that's the whole build. Like, you get the even more hype because you saw this already. It's like, how are these
the kickouts too? The kickouts and stuff as well, because we saw it. It didn't. You're right, panache, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Number one is probably the best. Favorite face of Foley.
Mankind.
Okay. Well, early Mankind, like debut Mankind, or win the world title wearing the white shirt, like
white
thrown
shirt.
off the Hell in a Cell. Okay, yeah, like hero Mankind. Okay. Favorite match of the first 9 WrestleManias, but not a Hulk Hogan match, because he was in all of them. And why would we pick those?
Oh, I can't even give you a good answer.
Okay. How about a favorite match of the Manias you've watched since you kind of got back into it, outside of Shawn Michaels and Undertaker? Like, give me just another great match that you love from any of those WrestleManias. Jimmy and Jay, WrestleMania 40.
To me, the Jimmy and Jay versus Kevin and Sammy was really cool.
Yeah.
From a journey standpoint, to see the stage that they got on. For all 4 of them.
Yeah.
From the Usos, obviously their journey's been well documented within WWE. Kevin and Sammy from the Indies to a main event of WrestleMania. Kevin's not even his first main event of WrestleMania, which is crazy. And for him to get to do it with who he got to do it with, like, that's beautiful. Again, unlikely. Beautiful story. So I will go with that one, even though I know it's of a more recent ilk. Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk, that WrestleMania, WrestleMania 26 was fire.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few.
Okay.
But I'll go with 40. I'll go with the tag team match. That's my answer.
Yeah, I don't, it could come off as recency bias, but I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with you that it was a great match. And just, again, Sammy and Kevin coming from where they were, always kind of being linked together, either against each other or with each other. Combine that with the Usos' journey from perennial pre-show guys to that is like, it's unbelievable. It's literally unlikely. The theme of this show, man.
Let me flip it. Overrated? I'm sorry, because I don't know if that's going to be a question. I'll go with one that like is highly decorated. I know a lot of people talk about Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19 being a classic, and it was a good match. I don't think it lives up to like, I don't know, the conversation that people had about it. And maybe that's naive, because at the time I wasn't a part of whatever forums and everything having conversations. But I know that a lot of people hold that match in such a high regard. Yeah. And to me, it didn't really deliver. I was like, and it was a long match. They gave them boys like 35 minutes. Brock versus Kurt Angle still holds up as the main event of that WrestleMania. That was great. The Hogan Vince was underrated because of the Roddy.
That's a great jump in, underrated choice. Yeah.
The Evolution versus, you talk about Mankind, McFoley, Mankind, the Rock and Sock, like that whole
20. Yeah.
That was fantastic. Randy Orton versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 21. The RKO off the chokeslam is the most underrated RKO. I'm so dramatic with my takes. The most underrated.
Yeah, Yeah.
But that
Didn't
was
you
a
say
great
you
match.
didn't want to be Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah, nah, but I'm smooth with it. I'm not yelling at you.
Right.
You don't feel
That's
harassed, do you?
absolutely not. I feel very,
Okay.
very calmy over here.
We'll go with those.
Okay, you picked a lot of good ones. I would say if you haven't watched, so I agree that the Jericho Michaels match is probably a little overrated, and I would add to that. I think it's overrated even more because 5 years later they ran back. They did a unsanctioned match at
Yeah, that whole.
Unforgiven '08, and they also had a
Mhm.
ladder match at No Mercy '08.
Mhm.
Those are some of the better matches that they've had ever, and it's 5 years later. Those guys are not young by any stretch at that point. Michaels is about to retire 2 years later, so I'd check those out before I
And
check
that
out
was
the
supposed to be
WrestleMania
a
match.
transitional thing too. I
Oh
don't think
yeah, it
they
was never
thought
supposed to be that
that
big.
whole segment, like the segment, obviously with the TV, like changes everything, which is cool. And you're so yeah. Even to further my point, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Got good
anytime, man.
lawyers on here.
Lawyers, therapists, we got it. You find everything here on the Juice Box.
The triple
But
threat: Charlotte, Sasha, Beck at that was at 32.
that was my first WrestleMania I got to see in person, and that was one hell of a match. That was for like the first women's, like the new
Mhm.
title. It wasn't the
Yep,
Divas title anymore.
yep, and where Lita's the one who introduced it.
Yeah.
That was a fire match too. I'm trying to think of more ones of more recent memory. The pandemic, like it makes it weird. Um,
Yeah, those I just like a whole block of matches that I don't recall.
Charlotte and Rhea. Charlotte and Rhea was
Oh
so
yeah.
a lot of people say that the triple threat with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre is like the best WrestleMania match of all time. I've heard someone say, I've had conversations with people say it's the best WrestleMania match ever, and I
It's
know a
very
lot of
good.
people who have put it in their top tens, and it is fantastic. The best night of the best match of that weekend and the best match of that night was Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley.
And I tend to agree. And was that not, we just talked about the pandemic? Didn't they have that match in the
Yep,
closed off at
Tampa. No, it
yeah.
wasn't
Well,
Tampa.
it
No,
was
no,
in
it's
the
a close
actual,
one.
yeah, the closed off one. So I love that they got to run that back, and get to experience it with fans. And they were even more. I mean, Rhea Ripley has grown so much since 2020. I mean, it's crazy to see where she's come in her career and trajectory and how she's performed in ring. So I agree with you. And it's great. You mentioned Mania 39. It seems to be one of the better, more recent WrestleManias for sure. Probably the best since the pandemic, although I think 40 gets a lot of love because of how it ended.
40 gets a ton of love. Yeah, the best ending, the Avengers Endgame ending.
Oh,
But 30, and also I do want to add is that they had to do that feud primarily on SmackDown, 2 hours with the Bloodline taking up 55 minutes of the airtime, not including commercials, to tell
right.
that story. And I know they went in there with a chip on their shoulder. Even Charlotte, it's been a couple weeks now when people are listening, but her Players Tribune kind of talks
Oh,
about the match and kind of talks about the chip on the shoulder that she's had. And I've gotten to talk to Rhea about it, and just to going out there and proving yourself and being like, hey, follow that.
huh.
Like I like that. I like that angle of it. And they did. They tore the house down and they put on a banger. So that one too. Those are my quick answers to your speed round. I'm so sorry.
Rapid fires turned into a whole nother interview practically.
Damn
Um,
straight.
we got a couple more. Favorite tag team of all time?
As a fan that's gone to events and taking
Yeah.
in my whole wrestling fandom, I'll go with the Usos.
Okay. And that's fair. I think a lot of people have grown to love them maybe even more than they ever anticipated because of where they've come, where they started, and how they've gotten to the bloodline story and main event literally for both guys, although one of them gets the moniker now. But
Yeah, but even when you look back at like they had a match with the Street Profits at Money in the Bank,
oh
was it
yeah,
2000? Like they put on bangers with a lot of people in the tag team division.
for
I
sure.
know it's been 2 weeks since the reunion or the it was the 13-year anniversary of the debut of the Wyatts. They
Yeah,
once
that's
had
crazy.
in one of the most random pay-per-views in WWE history, WWE Battleground, that was like a fatal four-way between Ryback, Kane, John Cena, and Roman Reigns. They had a 2 out of 3 falls match with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. That is probably my most, again, Stephen A. Smith, my most underrated match of all time, in my opinion. 2 out of 3 falls. They tore the house down. I don't think
Yeah,
people were expecting the match to be as good as it was. I'm very thankful I've gotten to talk to Jay about that match, and like he was like, "Hell yeah, people don't talk about that either," which was cool. I hope he meant it and wasn't just saying that to keep the
sure.
conversation going. But like, if you go back and watch that match, like I think even Michael Cole and the announce team was like, "Yo, we thought this just be a nice little 10-minute opener," and they gave him 30 minutes, and they all went out there and killed it.
And that's the testament to those guys and how hard they've worked. And it's just the bloodlines is like a story, but all these guys all have so much damn talent. There is a reason why they've lasted so long and have gotten to where they've gotten, and they're continuously adding and proving themselves and proving that their family is just undefeated. You know, it's crazy to see, and it's wonderful to see too. But let's go Brett or Sean.
Sean.
Okay. And then last but certainly not least, outside of any WrestleMania, give me 2 different items. Give me your favorite pay-per-view, just straight up pay-per-view, like whatever year, whatever show that you maybe go back and watch. And then your current favorite PLE, like what is your favorite event to watch that's not WrestleMania? And I'm sure it's probably the same for a lot of fans, but I'd like to hear your perspective.
I'm assuming Rumble is what everyone says.
That's seemingly the one that everybody loves to
Well,
say.
then I'm not gonna pick it. Okay. No, my favorite pay-per-view, I said it earlier. The Money in the Bank 2011. It was okay. Under Randy Orton versus Christian ended with Christian spitting in Randy Orton's mouth. And the slow motion replay of the spit hitting Randy Orton's lips is crazy. And then Randy Orton, his flip out, and it was also one of these moments where Randy Orton walked away, but the crowd was so loud and hyped, saying "Do it again." He did an he RKO'd Christian on the table twice. So the aftermath, the match itself was great up until that point where Christian hit him in the balls and then spit in his mouth or on his lips. And I also think that the stipulation of the match was that doesn't matter if there was a disqualification, that the title would change hands. So he spit in his mouth. Randy, kicked Christian in the nuts, and because of that, Christian won the title. And he deserved, man. Christian's the man. So it was cool.
Yeah.
He got the title. The reaction, like that was insane. We're talking, I know it wasn't 09, but Randy Orton still was super skinny, had the eyes going crazy. That was great. Kane versus Mark Henry. I think Mark Henry put the chair in Kane's like on his knee and then jumped off the top rope and landed on it. That was a good match. The Money in the Bank match had a moment that caused Rey Mysterio to be booed out of an arena, which I don't think has ever happened because The Miz did the fake injury.
It happened one other time at Royal Rumble 2014 when he came out at number 30.
Yeah. Up until that point.
Up until that point. Okay,
sorry, my apologies, because those are the 2 times.
Because I was there and I'm like, this is unprecedented.
Yeah, yes, 100%. But The Miz was he fell off like trying to get the briefcase.
Yeah.
Then he went to the back and then he came out hobbling like Ric Flair, and Ray was the one who stopped him. And I also think Miz then like took off Ray's mask, and it was kind of scary because there was a lot of ladders in the ring, and the way Ray fell but was just covering his face, he couldn't like stop. So it was just, that was a great match. And then of course CM Punk versus Randy Orton, like it was the best $50 I'd ever spent on that pay-per-view.
Or
all 3 hours were worth
Punk
it.
versus Cena.
What did I say? Oh, my fault. Yeah, Punk versus Cena. Yeah, it's just classic stuff. And the feeling of when Punk won and going on Twitter and everyone freaking out, like it was, that energy it's crazy. Won't be like that. It won't happen again like that ever. It won't.
Probably not. No, it's tough to strike when the iron's hot. And God, what was that 14 years ago? You know, and Twitter was big enough, but it wasn't what it is now.
And it just
It was
passed the
crazy.
phase. It just passed the phase of being like, oh my God, 50 Cent and Ashton Kutcher on Twitter. You need to be on it. It was starting to become part of our lives. And
Yeah.
like, where all the sports report, like the rise of Schefter and stuff, breaking
Yeah.
the news on there. But everyone freaking out and legitimately, I mean, it still happens today, but the trendiness of CM Punk and like all that chaos amidst all the other news that was on there was
And
fantastic.
the
And then to
photo of the
answer,
title in the fridge.
yes, and to answer your question about the best pay-per-views, I'll go SummerSlam. It's
Okay.
always, it's in the summer. It's great. It's like the last hurrah before school starts, or school had just started in many places because it's always at the end of August. 7-Eleven used to have the WWE Slurpee cups.
I
So it's
love
just a
that.
good
I have
vibe. When the
some of those,
Slurpee cup, when they pulled up at your 7-Eleven, you knew SummerSlam was right around the corner. So I'll go with SummerSlam.
And I think that's a good pick. I mean, and it happened when I was 1 year old, but SummerSlam had Domino's as a sponsor. Like, and they had all the pizza boxes had SummerSlam advertisements on it. Like, how could you not love companies going all in? And I mean, now WWE is all about branding, the Slim
Minute Maid,
Jim
baby.
tables and Minute Maid. Hey, Minute Maid, damn it. They had the section at WrestleMania, the juice box. They stole my gimmick.
Oh, there's beef. I'm so sorry.
No, there's no beef. It's just, hey.
No, there is.
I'll
There's
take
not
it.
beef. There's juice. Lots of juice.
Lots of juice.
There should have been a sponsorship.
There's plenty of juice to go around here. It's really no big deal. They are there. They are WWE. I am here in this humble abode. So it's really no sweat off my back. But man, this has been so wonderful. I'm so glad we finally got to chat, man, and just, I mean, meet you at all for the first time. Because again,
Absolutely.
only see you through interviews and you see just interactions on Twitter and stuff. And that only goes so far. And it's nice to get a face that is responsive to you instead of just, an avatar. And you've been nothing but gracious there, online, any engagements you've had with me. And then to set this thing up, you've been very nice. And I know there were, some behind the scenes issues that we could never get the time right, but we did get it right. And what better time to have it recorded? Now, I know this will air more than likely next week because I'm, as of this recording, I'm going out to Dallas tomorrow. So things are going to be, hectic for the next week, but I'm really excited that we got this in, man, and just appreciate what you do. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else Unlikely has up its sleeve going forth into 2025 and beyond. So any final parting words before we head on out here? The SIP series featuring Unlikely Adrian Hernandez.
Sir, next time I join you, for those watching at home, I will make sure to plug in my other camera. The technical difficulties of this broadcast on my behalf is just ridiculous for a podcast that it will be sponsored by Minute Maid here shortly. I just need to get my shit together. Thank you for having me on. This has been a pleasure. You're fantastic at what you do. Please keep doing what you're doing. Your energy, your presence, your questions is needed in this space. Amidst the millions of podcasts, not many of them are like what you have here. And thank you so much for the time. And I appreciate you. And whenever you want me on and have me back, I'll be here for you with a new camera that doesn't shut off every 10 minutes because it's a photo camera. Like, what does it mean, man? Like, let me live. I'm trying to talk wrestling, bro. Anyway,
I know. Thank you, brother. And like I said, even when we were like, all right, we're getting ready to do it, and you're like, oh, now the camera doesn't work. And I'm like, something doesn't want us to do this, but damn it, we did it. So more power to us.
We did it, baby.
Through. That's right. So for Adrian Hernandez, I'm Juice Springsteen. I hope you guys enjoyed this special edition of the SIP series right here on the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.